Synthesizer V. So up here I've got my voices, soprano, alto, tenor, bass. And this is like the notes that you can sort of drag around. Oh, don't do that. To different pitches, and if you zoom in, you can see that the words are in each box. So it's quite similar to a digital audio workstation that some of you may be familiar with, but yeah, it sings at you, which is just awesome for if you're an arranger. Let me play it for you again.
As I went down in the river to pray, studying about that good old way, and who shall wear the robe and crown, good Lord, show me the way.
So pretty cool. Let's go back to the presentation. And here we go. Okay, so that's what Synthesizer V looks like. I'm not giving a tutorial on how to use the program tonight. What we're doing is exploring fundamental concepts, and I've used that program to generate examples. So let's have a look at tuning, which is the first one. Okay, tuning. This will be obvious to most, but tuning well is important to virtually all music. In a cappella music especially, good tuning is the chief concern of many ensembles. In the following three examples, you will hear the harmony parts tuning to the soprano, which is the melody part, in 3 levels of in-tuneness. As you know, there are really infinite levels of in-tuneness, but I picked 3 different levels of in-tuneness to show you how important tuning is. So, version 1, we're going to hear the soprano is singing perfectly in tune with the piano, and everybody else is singing 50 cents flat. Now, it's kind of hard with a real live quartet to say, hey, soprano, you sing in tune with the piano, and the rest of you sing 50 cents flat. That is kind of impossible for singers to do. So, but we can hear the result using Synthesizer V singers. So here we go. Example number 1.
Sunset and evening star, and one clear call for me.
I guess that one should come with a warning. It's pretty hard to listen to. So that was soprano is in tune, as in tune with the piano, does not drift. Everybody else is 50 cents flat. So that's half of a semitone flat, or a quarter tone flat. Okay, this is example number 2. The soprano is still in tune with the piano, and everybody else is now 25 cents flat. So they're closer, but they're still 25 cents away from being in tune.
Sunset and evening star, and one clear call for me.
Sounds, to my ears, markedly better than the first one. And finally, let's hear the song. It's in tune. And I'm using 12-tone equal temperament, so in tune with a piano.
Sunset and evening star, and one clear call for me.
So let me ask you a question. I'm going to ask this question for each of the concepts we go through. What is the psychological effect when you hear a group whose tuning is poor, like in example number 1, where all the harmony parts are 50 cents flat relative to the soprano? What is the psychological effect? Somebody tell me. Please unmute yourself.
I just wanted to hide and just save me from it.
Yeah, yeah, it's quite
It was a bad
cringy.
psychological effect.
Yeah, it's quite cringy, isn't it? Yeah. Anybody else?
Scratching a blackboard.
Yeah, like scratching a blackboard. Good. Anybody else?
Yeah, jarring and discordant.
Jarring and discordant. Good words. Thanks, Frank. Yeah. So, to my ears, like once you hear the out of tune one and then you hear the in tune one, it feels relief. It feels settled, and possibly I can now sort of appreciate the lyrics more. I can get I can understand the message of the song a little more now. The distraction of the poor tuning has been resolved. And Kat, let me know if there's any things coming through in the chat, because I'm not actively looking at the chat. Thank you.
All good.
Great. Are there any more questions or comments about tuning? Would you like to hear it one more time?
No.
All right, that's okay. We will move on. We've got lots to get through. So tuning is important. Balance. Now, this is a fascinating one. So balance is the relative volume between the voice parts. There are many different opinions about what optimal balance sounds like. I propose two main tenets to adhere to. It's important to be able to hear the melody, and it's important for the chords to be balanced enough to ring and expand. Balance will be affected by numerous factors. How many singers are singing on each voice part, how loud or soft their voices are, whether the singers are singing louder to compensate for a noisy environment, and so on. Some of us may have been blessed to have sung in a choir that has a perfect balance of parts, but it's pretty rare. And people opinions may differ about what a perfect balance is in a choir. To address balance issues, it's very useful to have someone, for example your conductor, out the front listening to the group as a whole. That way someone can get the full picture and say, tenors, you're too loud, or sopranos, you're not loud enough. It's difficult to generate a one-size-fits-all approach to balance because there will be certain sections of the music, or even individual chords, that need to be balanced differently to the rest. Let's listen to some differently balanced audio examples. So here you're going to hear, now you're going to hear that same song, Crossing the Bar, 8 times. And I've made a little graphic to represent each balance approach that we've used in each one. So in example number 1, the soprano is the loudest, and then the alto is the second loudest, and then the tenor is the third loudest, and the bass is the softest. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. What I might encourage you to do is, if you like, you could close your eyes so you don't necessarily know in advance what you're about to hear, and have a listen, and then at the end maybe we'll find out who likes what. So I might say, who decided their favorite was number 3, who decided their favorite was number 8, because it tends to get an interesting split when I've done this exercise in person. It's not very unanimous. It's quite a split. Okay, so I'm just going to run through them. I'll say it's number 1, number 2, number 3, and so on. Feel free to close your eyes and listen, or feel free to watch. This is number 1.
Sunset and evening star, and one clear call for me.
This is number 2.
Sunset and evening star, and one clear call for me.
This is number 3.
Sunset and evening star, and one clear call for me.
This is number 4.
Sunset and evening star, and one clear call for me.
This is number 5.
Sunset and evening star, and one clear call for me.
This is number 6.
Sunset and evening star, and one clear call for me.
This is number 7.
Sunset and evening star, and one clear call for me.
This is number 8.
Sunset and evening star, and one clear call for me.
All right. I don't know if if there's an easy way to cast a vote. Maybe if you know how to do it, use the hand raise option, and then I'll say like who likes number 1 the best. Put up a little hand raise option, and then I'll move on to number 2. Just don't forget to click it off. Or you can just unmute and say me. That's fine as well. Who likes number 1, which is the soprano loudest and everybody getting softer? I can't see anybody. Actually, let me change my view.
No one in the chat.
No one in the chat either. No votes for number 1. Okay, so how about number 2, which is soprano the softest? This is like a true pyramid with the bass as loudest and soprano as the softest. I don't see any votes.
Nope.
Nope. Okay, number 3, quiet soprano and alto, loud tenor and bass. No votes. I'm starting to worry that people don't know how to vote. But number 4, loud soprano, alto, soft tenor and bass.
No, I'll take one of those.
All right, thanks, Paul. Good. Number 5, loud soprano and bass, soft alto and tenor. Nope. Number 6, loud alto and tenor, soft soprano and bass.
We have 1 for 6.
Oh, 1 for 6. Thank you, Mark Brown.
And Mitch as well.
And Mitch.
Yeah, in the chat.
Thank you, Mitch.
So 2 for 6.
2 for 6. Hooray. Number 7, all parts are equally balanced. Yeah.
We've got 1 for 7.
1 for 7. Thanks, Ben.
2 for 7.
2 for 7. Good. And number 8. I'm guessing this is where most of the votes are going. Number 8 is the soprano loudest, and the other 3 just a little bit softer than the soprano. Okay, good.
3. Yeah.
Looks like number 8 is our winner in terms of popularity. So does anybody want to unmute and tell us why you voted for number 8 if 8 was your favourite? Anybody?
It just seemed to have more beauty to me, with the soprano line coming in beautifully clearly over the top of the other 3 balanced parts. It just seemed to breathe a bit more magic into the piece. So.
Nice. Yeah, good. Thanks, Frank. How is it? Well, yeah, okay, but to counter that, what about number 1, which is like the soprano, the loudest, and everybody else softer than that? Is it different to that?
Yeah, I didn't mind number 1. In fact, it was my favourite for quite a while. So, but yeah, and number 8 won out over it though.
Why would number 8 be a little bit better than number 1?
Yeah, I think just probably the clarity of the soprano line, which just had that beautiful lilt to it. And the other parts weren't competing with it. They weren't dominating it or distracting from that lovely soprano line.
Yeah, good. Anybody else want to?
There's a question, Dan, in the chat from Dave. Do the tune and bass have the most important notes in the chords?
That's a good question. So let's look at the sheet music for 1 sec. So in this arrangement, the bass is on the root note of all of these chords. So, and just the way sound works and overtone series works and such like that, chords tend to be most stable when they're in root position, as opposed to in first inversion or second inversion where the bass is on a different chord tone, like the 3rd or the 5th. So you could argue that the bass notes are very important, and it's important for them to be loud, or at least somewhat louder than, say, maybe the alto and the tenor. The soprano, in terms of what notes it's on, it's like 3rd, then root, then major 7, then 5th. So it really changes a bit as it moves around. It changes more so than the bass, which is just root notes the entire time. Yeah, but I'd like to maybe hear from a couple other people who maybe voted for a different one that was not number 8 and why you voted for it.
There's a couple in the chat there, Dan, as well.
Okay, in the chat.
There's a few people. So someone said it depends. It probably depends a bit on the speakers, which is probably true.
Yes, this is true. This will be best consumed via headphones and less so through laptop speakers.
I weirdly, this probably because I've seen it a few times, but I really liked 3 because I really liked the tenor part. I don't know if that counts, but it was just really nice to hear that really beautiful baritone-ish harmony part. There's another melody to the song, so I kind of liked that.
Yeah, so can everybody hear Kat when she's talking?
Sorry, my yeah.
Oh, okay, just a little bit. Okay, so Kat said she actually liked the one where the tenor was loud because she likes the tenor part. Yeah. John, do you wanna say something? Or you just
Yes, look, I had trouble distinguishing some of them, but so I just there are a couple I just marked as a cross because I didn't like, and I ticked the other ones I did like. And the ones I liked the least were 2, 3, and 5. And I wasn't looking at the screen. And they are the ones where the bass was louder. I think in each of those cases the bass was louder, and I thought that was a little bit too over. The bass was a bit too overpowering. The other ones seemed more pleasant, I thought.
Yeah. Oh, good. Yeah. So, so as I say in the slide, I think that, and this may just be my personal taste, but I want to be able to hear the melody. If I can't hear the melody, then there's something wrong with the balance. And the second thing is I want to be able to hear the whole chord. So if it's say I'm hearing the melody and it's the soprano, but also the other part that is really loud is the tenor, and I can't hear the alto and the bass. To me, that just feels a bit unsatisfying. The chords don't expand; they don't lock up as well as they could. So those are the two main things for me. Can I identify and hear the melody and follow it? And the second thing is there's a fullness that you get when the parts have a certain ratio of volume between them. But again, it is a lot of it comes down to preference. Some people really do love that sort of pyramid where the bass is really obviously the loudest and everything stacks on top of that. But to me, it also needs to be able to hear the melody bit as well.
There's a question in the chat there, Dan, which I think is a really, really good question. Would a music judge be looking for 7 at all times, or is it song dependent? And I'll get my microphone working now.
Yeah, cool. So Colby's question: would a music judge be looking for 7 for number? So number 7 with the number 7 was the all parts in equal balance. So just because not everybody in here is necessarily a barbershop singer. We're talking about barbershop judging categories now. So musicality judge. I'm not a musicality judge. I'm a singing judge, so I'm not sure entirely, but it certainly does affect the expansion of chords and the tuning of chords. Balance is really important to that.
I think it's a really good question. Can you hear me okay now? Yeah. Because as someone, if you're in barbershop for long enough, someone will tell you about the magical cone, and I think there's a lot of advice that is given about balance in the barbershop setting that isn't necessarily doesn't necessarily serve the music in the way that I think the advice is intended. So I think it's more often relevant, I suppose, to the chord and so forth, how you would balance the music, but most often people will say, oh, you're going to have tiny tenor sound and a sort of slightly bigger lead sound, blah, blah, blah. But nobody actually preferred that when you listen to that song in that format. So, yeah.
Rowena, you want to say something?
Yeah, I have seen written down in some of the judging manuals things about the melody being predominant so that they want to hear the melody. But then I've also heard schools of thought where people say, the ear will always find the melody. So yeah, it's interesting. It's a funny one. I think everyone wants to hear fullness and they want to hear all of the parts and they want to be able to pick the melody. It's kind of my gut feel.
Yeah. And just to bring this back to sort of choral music generally, and not necessarily only barbershop, I think that holds pretty true too. We want to sort of be able to hear, or at least sort of feel all the parts, feel that they're there, even though afterwards you may not be able to say the outer line went like this, do 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 do. You still be able to, you would feel that its presence was there and making the chord feel rich and full. Whether or not you could identify, the alto notes specifically. We're going to move on in just a sec. Are there any more comments, questions about balance? Anybody want to fight for number 1 or number 3 or anything like that? Okay, cool. Let's move on, go back to the presentation. Okie dokie. So, moving on beyond balance. Oh, and I will say one thing. As we go through these, everything else is being controlled for. So if we're talking about balance or on the balance slide, I can assure you that the tuning is good, the sync is good, the vowel matching is good. Everything else that I can control for has been controlled for, so that only one variable is being played with. So if you hear an example, if for example one of those balance, one of those 8 different balance examples sounded out of tune to you, I promise you that it wasn't. It was only a balance issue, and this is one of the main reasons I wanted to make this presentation, was to be able to tease apart when I hear something. Was it actually a tuning issue, or was it in fact a sync issue, or was it in fact a vowel matching issue? Because these different concepts, they can blur together when you hear them in the wild. At the end of this presentation, there is going to be a little quiz where I've prepared 4 examples and I've messed with one of the concepts, but I'm not going to tell you which one it is in advance, and you have to listen. Is that a question from Ben with his hand up?
Hey.
Hey, Ben.
Thanks, Dan. Yeah, really cool. You were talking about controlling the different variables in each slide, and I thought, it's really interesting that for instance, the out of tune one, the 50 cents flat, was really bad, whereas none of the balance ones were really particularly on that level of bad. They were all sort of okay compared to that.
Yeah, so it could be that we are just more hypersensitive to tuning than we are to balance.
Yeah, stuff like that.
Yeah, no, that's a great observation. Thank you, Ben. We're going to move on to synchronization. Okay, synchronization, which is aligning the beginning and ending of words rhythmically. A lot of choral music, including barbershop music, is homophonic or homorhythmic, which means that all the voice parts are singing the same words at the same time. In homophonic choral music, good synchronization is especially important. Good sync makes the ensemble sound very unified. Poor sync makes voices stick out and reduces the overall amount of time spent ringing chords. These 3 examples will show poor, average, and good sync. As before, I'll play you the 3 examples, and then I want you to tell me what the psychological effect is of bad sync versus good sync. Okay, example 1, poor sync.
Sunset and evening star and one recall for me.
Okay, example 2, average sync.
Sunset and evening star and one recall for me.
And example 3, good sync.
Sunset and evening star and one clear call for me.
All right. Talk to me. What was the psychological effect of hearing the really bad synchronization?
It was awful.
Thank you. Good comment.
It was almost like a stutter. But amazingly, the chords still rang once they sort of found themselves. But anyway, obviously, the good sync's infinitely better.
Yeah.
It
That's
was
interesting, isn't it? The
distracting.
chords still rang. They like when everybody lined up.
It was distracting.
I did have a passing thought, are they singing the same song? But of course they were, because the words were the same.
A magical version.
But the average sync, and I found that with the average before as well. Gosh, aren't we used to average? We hear it frequently.
Mm. Mm. There's a question in the chat, Dan. Do you feel that the synth V is accurately representing sync in these examples, in your experience?
Do I feel like it's accurately representing? Okay, you might need to mute while I'm unmute because we're in the same room.
Oh yeah, good point.
There's a bit of an echo. So I'm not sure if I fully understand the question, but I have met very few groups in real life who can sing with that extreme level of good sync. If that's what you're saying. There's almost it can almost be endlessly refined. Like it is very hard to say that's it. We've got perfect sync now. Do you know what I mean? The same is true for tuning. It's like, do we in fact have perfect tuning now? Well, we just have tuning that was better than the last time we did it. So it's sort of like there's an ideal, and we head towards that ideal. And do we actually ever get there? Maybe not. It's sort of like a vanishing point that it keeps moving further away from you. But we're sort of having an idea in your head of what really, really good sync sounds like, I think is valuable. And also being able to tell when you're hearing a group that maybe their biggest issue is sync, and you might on first blush just think, oh, that's a tuning problem, or that's a vowel matching problem, or some other problem. But you get them to say sing in unison for a second to really lock in on their sync by just singing one, sunset and evening star on one pitch. Then you can really start to clear up synchronization issues before splitting back to 4 parts. That's how I would maybe approach that. I don't know if that answers the question. Hopefully.
Yeah, I think Rowena, you had a really good point as well. It usually with sync, there's other issues as well. There's the scooping and other things. So if you isolate sync, this is probably a fairly accurate way of experiencing that. Because just that on its own, you don't often get to hear just the effect of that. So yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Oops, unmute myself. Exactly. We rarely hear a group that is perfectly in tune but has bad sync. We always hear these things in combination. But it can be instructive to tease them all apart and go, okay, I know that this group is singing in tune, or these voices are singing in tune, and I know that the only thing that has been messed with is their sync. What does a bad sync actually sound like when it's been isolated? Okay, any further comments or questions? We can move on to the next one. The next one's probably a pretty short one, I think. Okay, next one.
Oh, I would say, my evaluation would be that this would be somewhere between balance and tuning in importance. It was, it was a lot more disturbing to the music than the different balances, but probably not as bad as the tuning.
Yeah. So it's kind of good to have a bit of a hierarchy in your head too, of things that are important. And yeah, for me, tuning and sync are way up there in probably. I think I'm of similar mind to you, Ben. John, I can see you have your physical hand up.
Yep, my visible hand, my real hand. There are some choral pieces, some particularly older ones, where there's a deliberate unsynchronization, and then the chord gets resolved when finally everybody's together on the final chord, and that can be quite effective. But if there's if the lack of synchronization is not intentional, then it can sound not too good.
Yes. So, like, are you talking about like polyphonic pieces where
Yeah,
words will
even
happen at
where it's
different
just
times?
just slightly polyphonic, where people are singing in synchronization, and then one part sings the the phrase, a semi, a quaver earlier or something like that, and then it gets resolved over a longer period of time.
Yeah, like a delayed resolution kind of
Yeah,
thing.
yeah. Some of the Christmas carols have that sort of stuff.
Yeah. And it sounds great when it's done well. Yeah.
Yes.
And I would say what's still important is that if it's in a choir, within a voice section, for example, within the alto section, you want good sync within the section. Even though they're, like, according to the sheet music, they're out of sync, or what they sing is a beat later or whatever than everybody else. It still needs to be sort of internally consistent within the section. Let's have a look at connecting words. This one's pretty short because it's pretty obvious that this one is important. When you hear it, you'll be like, oh yeah. Connecting words. So in choral music and many other kinds of a cappella music, connecting words together for a smooth legato sound is very important. We'll hear the two examples: poor connection and then good connection. Here is poor connection.
Sunset and evening star, and one clear call for me.
And here is good connection.
Sunset and evening star, and one clear call for me.
All right. And how does that make you feel when there's poor connection between the words?
I was thinking that you really started focusing on every syllable, and it was someone mentioned stuttering before. It almost felt a bit like stuttering, so you were actually kind of, it was a way to draw attention, that's for sure, which is a
Yeah.
technique.
Well, yeah, exactly. Some of these, when you isolate some of these things, you realize, oh, I maybe actually have heard that in a performance, but it was done intentionally, and it had a good effect. So, like slides, for example, we'll come to them soon. But once you've named the technique, so connecting words, for example, then for effect, to bring out a certain lyric, you might separate it from the phrase that comes before and the phrase that comes afterwards, so it's like isolated. It's kind of like singing it staccato. But yeah, sort of, you can see that, like, connecting words is a good default to have. And it's also quite, when we sing, we tend to, the air escapes the body in a continuous flow, hopefully. And so when you sing sunset and evening star, the air is flowing out continuously, and I'm not stopping it with every sunset and evening star. It's a bit, it's hard to do that. It feels a lot easier to just sing a continuous phrase.
The other thing is
Mitch.
that creates timing issues too when you've got that kind of thing. So it creates a timing issue, which becomes a sync problem often if people are singing like that.
Do you mean like the tempo, like people could slow down or speed up when they're doing that? Is that what you mean?
As individuals, yeah. So like by having to try and sing syllable by syllable, because if that's what they thought that they were to do, you would create timing issues and create sync problems. So like it's best to connect, right?
Yes. I mean, yeah. I think in most cases in sort of choral music and barbershop music, we want that legato sound.
Because most people are trying to coordinate like airflow, consonants, and vowel, and they're trying to trying to do it all at once. So if by creating the connected sound, we are going to sync a lot more.
Yeah, and so I know some of you have done the exercise where you sing only the vowel sounds, or take out, or to put it another way, take out all the consonant sounds. So you go ah, eh, ah, and that way it can't help but be smooth, because the consonants, which are typically the things that interrupt the sound, they're all gone now. I know Luke Stevenson's a real fan of this exercise. And then put the consonants back in, but lightly, and then you get a really smooth thing after that. So Mitch said staccato might be good for creating tension in the beginning of a song. Indeed, not just at the beginning of a song, but anywhere you want, really. Yeah, exactly. It's an expressive tool on the tool belt. Let's move on. Vowel duration. So this is related. In choral singing, maximizing the amount of time spent on the vowel sounds as opposed to the consonants means we get a smoother, more legato sound with more time spent on rich harmony. Shortening the duration of a vowel and thus maximizing the duration of a consonant can highlight certain words and be an effective expressive technique if everything else still has long vowels. So it's about creating contrast. If you want to maybe bring out a word, you could really emphasize the consonant sound in that word, but it only stands out if everything else is smooth and legato. So use with caution. So just explain this little diagram at the top. So I've got the word sun. We've got a consonant sound at the beginning, the vowel sound is blue in the middle, and another consonant at the end. If I were to sing or speak the word sun across 3 beats and put like an equal duration on each of them, it'd be like sun. Whereas most of the time I want to maximize the time on the vowel and reduce the amount of time on the consonant. So it'd be like sun, which is 90% vowel, maybe 10% consonants. So let's listen to our 3 examples. This one is short vowels.
Sunset and evening star, and one clear call for me.
And this is medium vowels.
Sunset and evening star, and one clear call for me.
And this is long vowels.
Sunset and evening star, and one clear call for me.
So talk to me about what's the effect psychologically of hearing that one that had like really short vowels.
Yeah, the short vowels are almost sound disjointed, whereas obviously the long vowels, it all fills in to a comfortable hearing experience.
Yeah, a comfortable hearing experience. That's a good quartet name. Comfortable hearing experience. So yeah, like it sort of sounds a bit staccato, or like to my ears it sounds like hesitant. Like the singers are sort of, they never quite get going. They always stop and then start up again. That kind of feeling. Frank, I can't hear you. It doesn't say you're muted, but I can't hear you for some reason.
There's a comment from Rowena there, Dan, as well.
While you sort that out, Mike, Rowena says the long vowels almost lost the rhythm of the song. Interesting, I preferred somewhere between the medium vowels and the long vowels. Yeah, cool. So, yeah, this is interesting. We're finding like nuance even between like just tiny amounts of difference there. So the funny thing about when I've played with this program is that like For example, on the pitch duration, the pitch transition, which is slides, I discovered that I have a preference for how long the pitch duration is, the pitch transition is, and I like 0.1 seconds, whereas I didn't know that before. And 0.2 is just much too long, and 0.05 not long enough. So we sometimes find that my preference is just like, oh, it's a tiny bit that way compared to what I'm hearing. Try again, Frank. Can we hear you now?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I was just saying this might be a bit unfair, but I almost had the feeling that it was a bit country and western with the more stilted vowel duration. Yeah, sort of yeehaw.
It could, yeah. Well, I mean, like, this is something that I found when I've done this presentation, is that diphthongs is one where, like, in country music, sometimes country singers will turn their diphthongs really early. So on the word day, like day, they'll turn the diphthong and get to the e part of the word really soon. So little things like this, we hear it and go, why does that make me think of country music all of a sudden, or a different style of music? So these are used as expressive techniques in different contexts.
Yeah,
John
interesting.
Dyer? Yeah, thanks, Frank. John Dyer.
Yes, I just looked up different types of consonants, and perhaps they make a bit of a difference too. In fact, I didn't realise there were so many different types: plosives, fricatives, nasals, affricatives, approximates. So I imagine this complicates the duration thing too.
It could, yeah. It's not an area that I've explored that much yet, but yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, just the way Australians pronounce diphthongs. I mean, New Zealanders don't, of course, but.
Ooh.
But
Yeah.
we often look at the way we say our diphthongs and regard it as a no-no.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's a choice.
Yeah.
I think the issue is when we're singing in a choir, we've got to coordinate. The Kiwi roast only took 48 minutes. The thing is, when you sing in a choir, like, for example, like, yeah, Australians have some pretty wild diphthongs sometimes, like in the word now. We somehow managed to fit all of the vowels into one word. Getting a choir to sing that and all decide which part of the word to hold for the same duration of time can be pretty tricky. So some of us are fighting against our accents. Every accent's got its strengths and weaknesses, I think, when it comes to choral singing. I just want you to appreciate the short vowels one more time because it's funny.
Sunset and evening star, and one clear call for me.
Yeehaw!
All right, so let's move on to pitch transition. I like this one. So pitch transition, aka scooping, aka sliding. When we sing note to note, there is always some duration of time spent on the pitch transition. Using the Synthesizer V, we can precisely control the duration of this transition phase. In most cases for choral music, it's conventional to transition quickly with a minimum of scooping. However, note, in some styles of singing, scooping or sliding is used as an effective expressive technique. So here's our song, Crossing the Bar, and we are going to hear a long pitch transition first. Here we go.
Sunset and evening star, and one clear call for me.
There we go. Now let's hear a medium pitch transition.
Sunset and evening star, and one clear call for me.
And Now let's hear a short pitch transition. This is my preference. 0.1 seconds.
Sunset and evening star, and one clear call for me.
So tell us about how did it feel when we heard the variations in pitch transition time?
There's a comment from Rowena. This has the same cringe factor as tuning, and I believe that is indeed true.
Yeah. So Rowena says this totally has the same cringe factor as tuning. Yeah. It I mean, and it affects the tuning because when we take longer to arrive at the target pitch, there's a whole lot more time where we're not on a tuned chord, or not on a locked chord, I should probably say. So by locked, I mean everybody's on the note they're supposed to be on, and everybody's holding it steady. So yeah, it great when you have everybody sliding or scooping all over the place. It greatly reduces the amount of time spent with locked chords. Yeah, somebody else. What's the psychological effect of hearing that?
Well, thankfully, it's a lot better than if it had vibrato as well.
It's a small mercy, I suppose. Yes. Yeah, we'll get to vibrato real soon, actually. So Dave says, same question as for sync. These examples sound very mechanical. Do they represent the way real singers scoop? Probably not, because it's very difficult to get real singers to scoop at a precise rate. What I just wanted to show is like what happens when everybody takes a while to get to the note, or when everybody gets there quite quickly. In most cases, in choral music, we'll want to get to the note pretty quickly, so as to maximize the amount of time with an in-tuned chord or an in-tuned interval. Yeah, it's and it's pretty. I don't know if anybody else experiences, any other choir leaders who are listening, but like it's pretty common for new singers to choral music or to barbershop music that they do that. They sort of, especially if they're not used to controlling their voice very precisely, they'll sort of wander up to the note and then wander back down to the next note. And there's a bit of sort of control. Learning that degree of control takes a while to be able to sing that sort of accurately straight away. Mark Brown sounds like they've had a drink. I agree. I was hoping somebody would say that. To me, the first one sounds like everybody's drunk. Let's listen to that first one again.
I often find really, really good singers, soloists, when they come along to a group, they often do scooping because in solo singing, that's what you do, but you can't do that in group singing.
Yeah. And it's such an expressive technique. Even in in barbershop quartets and other a cappella quartets, if you're the melody singer, it's a lot of those great melody singers, they use sliding a lot. The thing is, it's pretty much only the melody singer doing it, because if everybody's doing it, it just sounds kind of random. It sounds like it would be like a lead singer with a really sloppy backup band playing. Do you know what I mean? The backup band has got to be tight, and then the singer can muck around with the rhythms and muck around with how late or early they get to the pitch. But it only sounds good in reference to something that's sort of locked in. Yeah, so what does Dave say? So this is not to represent a deliberate scoop for effect. Are you aiming for a minimum acceptable scoop here? I suppose I am, Dave. Yeah, I just wanted to demonstrate what happens when everybody slides all over the place. What does that actually sound like? So, yeah, if you want to sing, I think if you want to be a good chorister, generally minimizing the amount of scooping you do is probably a good technique. If you want to be a soloist, go nuts. Let's listen to that just one more time because it's a bit of a laugh. Here we go.
Sunset and evening star, and one clear call for me.
Very good. Very good fun. All right. Now, when I first got Synthesizer V, this is one of the first things I wanted to do. Is experiment with vibrato versus straight tone. And I remember when I first started singing harmony music, there were two really big things that I was like, oh, that's how we get like clean chords. One of them was learning that, to control my vibrato and try to sing more of a straight tone more of the time. And the other one was vowel matching, which we're going to come to in a second as well. And picking one sound in the word and holding that one sound. So holding a target vowel. But let's talk about vibrato first. So vibrato is a type of musical effect where a note changes pitch subtly and quickly. In singing, vibrato is often used to add expression. However, in a choral singing context, excessive vibrato can mean less time spent with locked in tune chords. In these three examples, you'll hear the effect vibrato has on the sound. So in the first one, all parts are using vibrato. This is example 1, all parts using vibrato.
Sunset and evening star, and one clear call for me.
This is example number 2. The soprano only is using vibrato.
Sunset and evening star, and one clear call for me.
And final example, no parts using vibrato.
Sunset and evening star, and one clear call for me.
All right, what did we think about vibrato versus non-vibrato in these examples?
Number 1, I hated it.
Good demo. Very good. Anybody? I mean, I don't want to cast judgment here. I think all approaches to vibrato are equally valid. I have my preferences. Other people have their preferences. So, but it's interesting to hear the difference, right? Anybody else want to comment?
There is high and low frequency vibrato, and when done tastefully, slower than that. That's very high frequency, but much lower frequency has its place, but obviously not in barbershop.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. So, like, what you've heard is 3 pretty extreme examples of vibrato, and within the program Synthesizer V, you can control this very, very precisely. I learned there are some parameters of vibrato you can change. So one is depth. So that's how high up and down the pitch changes. So, like, for example, a depth of a semitone means that from the target pitch it goes down a semitone, then back up a semitone, then back to the center. So the depth is like how far away from the middle pitch it moves. And the frequency is how rapidly it changes. So you mentioned there, Paul, frequency. So like how fast the wobbles are. Because you can have quite slow wobbling vibrato. So that would be a lower frequency of vibrato. And I think there were a couple of other parameters too. Those were the 2 that stuck in my mind that I was like, oh, okay. These are things you can actually control for. And yeah, like, again, once you start playing with it, you realize that, oh, that is too much, but that is just right, and that is not enough. And you start to develop a preference for, oh, you know what? I think my preferred depth of vibrato is 0.3 semitones. Or my preferred frequency is 1 kilohertz or whatever. But you just don't know until you can control it and play with it in a program that can do precisely what you order it to and sing it back to you. So
just getting back to Rowena's earlier point about solo singing, you can get away with a lot of stuff in solo singing. It sounds quite good, but not in ensemble singing, and certainly not in barbershop.
Absolutely, yeah, exactly. Well put. So what we can do in solo singing is not necessarily the best course of action for ensemble singing, like in a choir or in a barbershop quartet. What did you say, John? Lots of scooping the Backroads ABC TV theme song? I haven't seen that one. Is that okay? I'll have to look at it later. Sounded like a wobble board. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just going to say about the back roads. That's where they go around different country towns, and the scooping annoys me. I think it actually sounds okay in this particular thing because there's only a small number of people singing, but it still sounds annoying from a choral singer's perspective.
Yeah.
I think I actually quite like it in sometimes when it's not homophonic arrangement. Like if the lead has got a solo moment, as our lead often does, it's sometimes it allows them the freedom to be more expressive if in those moments they can have the ability to slide and add the vibrato and things, and it doesn't really affect it the same way as if you're aiming for that homophonic sound. It's just
Absolutely. What Kat, can you just mute your microphone, please? It's echoing.
Sorry.
That's okay. What I have noticed is that some of my favorite barbershop lead singers, they do use vibrato, but they're pretty selective and tactical about when they use it. So often they'll use it at the end of a phrase, kind of like a signal like the end of the phrase is coming. It's just a nice little bit of expression. And I think it serves a double purpose of sort of letting the fellow singers in the quartet know that the end of the phrase is coming. And they'll also know like exactly how to sit into the chord and sing like with straight tone to get a locked chord. And the best quartet singers will demonstrate like, listen to this locked chord, and it's locking long enough that it's not a coincidence, that it's definitely done on purpose, and then they'll put a little bit of vibrato, sort of flutter at the end. And to me it's a little bit like a flourish with the pen, like a signature, or a little bit of a cursive script at the end of a sentence. Let's move on. Anybody want to comment more on vibrato versus straight tone? We're actually going to explore it a little bit further on the next slide. All right, here we go. So, more vibrato. In these demos, let's explore the effect vibrato has within a voice section, in this case, within a group of 4 sopranos. So in the first example, 3 out of 4 sopranos is using vibrato, and each of those 3 is using vibrato with unique depth. Remember, that's how far up and down it goes, and frequency, that's how rapidly it changes. So this is example 1, 3 out of 4 sopranos using vibrato.
Sunset and evening star, and one clear call for me.
This is number 2, 1 out of 4 sopranos using vibrato.
Sunset and evening star, and one clear call for me.
And finally, 0 out of 4 using vibrato.
Sunset and evening star, and one clear call for me.
So if that final one sounds like one voice, that's not a coincidence, because it was in fact copied and pasted the same thing 4 times. But that's what, when you get perfectly 4 voices perfectly matched, it does sound like one voice. Cool. So anybody want to talk about that what we just heard, the vibrato within a section, within the soprano section?
The frequency was unnaturally high.
In the first example or the second?
Yes. Well, all of them really.
Yeah. So you like extremely rapid vibrato?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
It's normally a bit, sort of half that frequency.
Yeah. Well, it can be. Yeah. I guess maybe when I make this again, I could make one so the vibrato is a little bit slower, like a lower frequency vibrato. Yeah. What's the what does it feel like? Like for example one where 3 out of the 4 sopranos were using vibrato at different rates. What did that sound like, or what did that feel like to hear it?
Very unnatural. It
Very unnatural.
just didn't feel right at all.
Yeah.
It had like a shimmer effect, like sort of like a glassy kind of, sort of a sparkle that was, it, it was an effect. It was, interestingly, the second one, I could hear like an octave overtone,
Ah.
which was really unexpected, but it kind of did something weird. Third one clearly was sounded like one voice. Yeah, I did want to comment on vibrato in the sense too that naturally we have a light vibrato in our voice. So these big high frequency things is really when people are pushing or there's some kind of vocal issue, really, isn't it?
It certainly can be, yeah. Yeah. I
But
like
that
what you said.
glassy thing was weird.
Yeah. Yeah, but I've heard other people talk about the shimmer, and some people really like choirs where the section within a section there is vibrato because it gives that shimmery kind of effect. It could probably play with those vibrato parameters a little bit more, and maybe reduce the frequency or something. But you could maybe get a shimmer that sounds quite uniform, if you see what I mean.
It was quite a sort of a weird beat, if that makes sense as well. There was kind of a beat to it somehow.
Yes, yeah, because when the vibrato is going out of phase, they're like almost in tune but not quite, and you get those beats. Yeah. Anybody else want to comment on the vibrato? Mark says, how would you approach a singer who has high vibrato but doesn't realize it or doesn't know how to sing straight tone, presumably, without offending? That's a really good question. I would say it could be a variety of reasons. One of them is breath control or breath support. So I would get them to sing something like on a semi-occluded vocal tract thing, like a vuv, like and then go sunset and evening star, and do something like that, just to make sure that it is, if it's a breath control issue, that'll kind of help them address that. I have known singers who it's just habit. Like they have always sung this way, and it's like they don't necessarily realize or know how to control their vibrato. They just think that's how you sing. So with those people, we might just have a chat with them. You could show them this presentation. I'll share this later on. It might eliminate them. Thanks, Mark. Dave says, what were the frequencies of the 4 vibratos? I don't remember offhand. I could open it up, or talk to me later, Dave, and I'll find it out for you. But I just made sure they're all 4 were different. Well, one of them had no vibrato, and the other 3 all had vibrato with different depth, so up and downiness, and frequency, how rapid the change was, so that we were hearing, because it's very, in real life, it's probably pretty rare to get 2 singers that can vibrato exactly the same. Vibrato is almost always going to be different from singer to singer. Even the very skilled singers might find it difficult to precisely control their vibrato. Okay, let's move on. Let's do the next one. Vowel matching, hooray! This one is important to all choral singing, all barbershop singing. So yeah, and not everybody knows, because not everybody gets to hear a choir from out the front, just kind of how important vowel matching is. So hopefully this will be illuminating. Matching the vowel sounds between all singers maximizes the ring in each chord. This is because different vowel sounds boost different harmonics in the overtone series. When 2 people sing different vowel sounds, their overtones clash with each other. So while you may be singing the same fundamental pitch, if I'm singing ah, but Bob is singing e, and you put us next to each other, there's going to be dissonance, but it won't be at the fundamental pitch level. It'll be in the overtones, because I'm boosting certain harmonics, and did I say Billy? Is that what his name is? Billy's boosting different harmonics because he's singing a different vowel. And so it can be perceived as a tuning issue, as you may hear when we listen. If we match vowels, the same harmonics will be boosted by each singer, and a greater amount of consonance is achieved. Listen for how the mismatched vowels affect the sound. Okay, so in each example, the soprano is singing the correct vowels, but in example 1 here, the alto, the tenor, and the bass are all singing mismatched vowels.
Sunset and evening star, and when clear pale for May.
Okay, number 2. The top 3 are singing the correct vowels, but the bass is singing mismatched vowels.
Sunset and evening star, and one clear call for me.
And then finally, all parts are now matching vowels.
Sunset and evening star, and one clear call for me.
Interesting, yeah? So talk to me about, what did it sound like when the vowels were not matched?
It's one of the really important things, I think, to get a great sound is to have your vowels matched as well as you can. Because even if I work mostly with kids, and we spend a long long time on this. And you know, even if just there's one person in that section who's singing something different, it'll change the whole dynamic of what you're trying to create, won't it? You know, and it will kind of almost throw a whole lot of other factors in there as well, that will sound not quite synced, and then it will sound not quite this and not quite that as well if your vowels aren't matched. So like, I think trying to get everybody to say the same thing at the same time is a huge thing to try and do. But if they kind of get used to you doing that to them really early on, they start, the good ones will start to hear it really well themselves, and before you know it, you don't have to do it anymore. Someone will give them a shove and say, "You're doing it again." You know, I that's like kind of a really big thing for me, is the vowel matching.
Yeah. It's I mean, good on you for having some smart singers in your group who are self-policing. I like that. That's good. But it's not always the first thing people think about, right? Because often the two big ones that Ben sort of identified earlier was like, if tuning is off, like wrong notes, and if timing is off, so like bad sync. Those are kind of like the two ones that, at least in my experience, get prioritized the most. Once those things have been mostly resolved, vowels is maybe like the next thing that I really think about, because it creates a certain dissonance or a certain disruption in like the fabric of the sound that it's like to a non-choral director or a non-choral singer, maybe they don't notice as much, or they just think, oh, something's off. But once you sort of know that it's the vowel things, it becomes a lot easier to spot, and you go, that's a vowel mismatch right there. It probably happens more commonly on certain words than others, especially if your choir has people with different accents in it, which my choirs do.
I was going to say that's where we're at, is that we have most of our bass section is from the UK. And their vowels sit lower in the mouth than anywhere else, let alone where the Americans sit, right? So it's sounding a lot like we've got muddy bass, or that we've got, or that they're just singing flat all the time. Well, they're not singing flat. They just don't have the same vowel to keep it in the same place to lock with everyone else. And it's just the bane of my life at the moment, like I just wish that they would just understand. Come to America.
Good. Kat, you want to say something?
Yeah, I really enjoy listening to the CC Cats and the Japanese groups that are coming into barbershop, because they have such clean, bright vowel sounds, and they were so matched. So yeah, they just seem to have an accent really suited for matching bright vowels.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah,
Didn't you tell me that they have very like pure vowels? I don't know much about Japanese, but that's what I think you told me. Like the vowel sounds are all very like pure.
I think pure probably the right word. It's just like everything is consonant vowel, and yeah, it just tends to be quite bright, like a bright placement when you're sort of speaking with the front of the mouth, if that makes sense.
The Italians do have pure vowels. So, yeah, you find that they're in a good place. And the other interesting one is the Swedish. Often they lift the ends of their words. So same with Australian women. It's true. But they lift the ends of the things, whereas most of us, when we speak, everything goes down at the end, whereas the Swedish go up. And yeah, so it's interesting. It's all vowel related.
Yeah, it's fascinating. With my choirs, I talk about vowels. We often use one vowel to fix another. So the E vowel being like the brightest kind of vowel, and we'll use the E to fix the darker sounding vowels. Or like or, as in like an AW, as in the word more, or the O, like in of. That's a couple of words that those kinds of vowels tend to be a bit too dark, or at least darker than, again, my preference, darker than I would like. And so we do some exercises to try to bring that into line with everything else, because everything else seems to be all right, like sort of a good level of sort of brilliance to the tone.
I was being smart about the Australian woman, by the way, Kat. That was in exchange for the Kiwi joke
I feel
before.
like it's true. Like
A little.
yeah.
But the Swedish do it. Just one with a comment for you as well, Dan. Steve Tremmick and a lot of the Harvard University people do Tune It or Die. It's a class that they do over there. And it's kind of interesting. He did an exercise where he had 4 people at the front and asked them to sing a tag, and then realised where the vowels were sitting for different people, and asked them to purposely sing vowels that were higher in their... So instead of singing an O vowel, to sing a higher vowel. So they were all singing different words to make the sound of the word that we wanted, and it just synced everything up. It was incredible.
I find that so interesting. Yeah,
changed the vowels.
I feel like we had some coaching recently from Royce Ferguson when we were singing with Vox Canvas, and he did this thing that I still don't really understand, but he's like, okay, we'll sing that again, but we'll put an E in it, like the shape of the throat, the openness at the throat has the E or the E undertone to it. And it just like fixed everything. Everyone was like, I know exactly what you mean, and then just did it somehow. But like then playing with that and putting different like undersounds underneath other vowels really changes it as well. So it's really fascinating.
Cool, excellent comments. And I'm just going to chuck in. Mark said, sounded like someone forgot the words. I agree. Like when I've done this, showed this to people in person, a lot of people have said that it's harder to understand the words when the vowels are mismatched. Or yes, even that someone has forgotten the words, or even someone is singing different words entirely. So Mark, if I interpret your other question, would you say sunset instead, for example. Yeah, for like again in my choirs, I just pick on certain vowels that the choir tends to sing in a darker placement. So like John, what's one that we do? Sunset, what do we call it? Call. So call, the word call. The default of the most of the singers in Strange Weather Choir, one of my choirs, would be like to say like call, call, which is quite swallowed, and I want it to be more call, call. So some of that is mechanical. It's like actually you need to lower the jaw a little bit more and open the lips a little bit more. But the other thing which is harder to control is that like moving the tongue forward just a little bit more like this as well. So we might go like well, firstly I'll demonstrate the difference so see if people can hear the difference and go call, 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 and see if we can just imitate the example a few times. But another way you could get there is go like start on a brighter vowel like ah and move to the one that you're actually singing. So like cat and then the word call. So cat, cat, call, call, cat, cat, call, call. And just try to move as little as you possibly can from the word cat to the word call. So just choosing a brighter vowel as like the place you're coming from is a good way to do it. Hopefully that gives you an example of a way to address that. Thanks, Mark. Good question. We are going to move on to the next one. This is related to vowels. This is diphthongs. Here's a public service announcement. The word is pronounced like this. Diphthongs. So a diphthong is when you have two vowel sounds back to back. So the example I have here is the word fine, spelled F-I-N-E, but the sounds in the word are f, r, e, n. And when we sing the word, we most of the time, most singers will hold the first vowel for a while before moving to the second vowel. So like fine. So for the majority of that time, I'm actually singing R, A-H, R, fine. And then the E vowel is kind of just included at the end, just as I finish the word. The opposite of that would be to go fine. That way I move fast through the R and get to the E and dwell on the E for a long time. Most singers intuitively understand that, you know, in words which one we intend to be the target vowel or the primary vowel. But sometimes, you know, it needs to be explained to some folks. So what we're going to do here is listen to this. This is a different exercise now because I wrote a little tag that has words that have diphthongs in them. So night and day, I can shine. So the words night, day, I, shine, all of those have diphthongs. So in example number 1, the 4 parts turn the diphthongs, but they turn it at different times. So someone's going to turn it early, someone's going to turn it late, and so on. So the 4 parts are turning the diphthongs at different times.
Night and day, I can shine.
This is the example number 2. The 4 parts turn the diphthongs together, but early in the word.
Night and day, I can shine.
And final example, the 4 parts turn the diphthongs together at the end of the words.
Night and day, I can can shine.
All right, talk to me. What did we think about the diphthongs being turned at different times to maybe what what we want? Well, maybe pose it like this. Did it sound... would you have been able to easily guess that the issue was turning the diphthongs at the wrong times? Or did it maybe sound like a different kind of issue?
Could you play the first one again, please?
Sure. So example number 1, the 4 parts are turning diphthongs but at different times.
Night and day, I can shine.
Interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, it sounds like a sync problem now, hearing that back again. So
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. It is a sync problem. It's just not sync in the way we usually think about it, which is like the beginning and the end of the word.
yeah,
Because now it's like the within the word, this part which should be here is over here instead, or something like that. Yeah, it is. It's odd. It sounds weird, doesn't it? And
indeed.
we're getting into the pretty like the esoteric kinds of technical things now. But this is something that does happen.
I don't think that new directors would necessarily hear that kind of thing for a start. I think it's kind of like a more advanced skill,
Yeah, it absolutely is. I agree. It's not, again, it's not, we've gotten past all the obvious things, and now we're getting into the less obvious things that crop up. Only, in my choirs, I count on one hand the amount of times that I've had to go into the thing like, oh no, the issue here is diphthong timing, It's usually something else before it's that. Dave says it might be a way to simulate a drunken choir without going out of tune or time. Yes. Colby says, I've heard the newfangled 4 sometimes turn them early on purpose, but otherwise it just doesn't feel right. Yeah, Colby, maybe were they doing it for a humorous effect? Maybe imitating a country style? If you listen to the, yes, yeah. So if you listen to the second example one more time, you might notice this turning the diphthongs early in the word is something that happens in country music a bit. So here's number 2, diphthongs early.
Night and day, I can shine.
I remember someone pointing out to me, even Frank Sinatra does this. I did it my way. He sings the word way and turns the diphthong early and then dwells on the E part of the word. Yeah, exactly. If it's in, Rowena said, if it sounds on purpose for effect. If it's executed in sync across the ensemble, it can sound like it was for effect. And yeah, on purpose. All right, let's move on. Extending phrases, an important aspect of choral music. And just to give you guys an idea of how far we've got to go, there are 21 slides total. This is number 14, and soon we're going to do a quiz. This is the last of the concepts that I'm going to talk about, and then we're going to do a little quiz. An important aspect of choral music and a cappella music, and a big contributor to the wall of sound effect, is extending phrases. When executed well, the sound of the group will be continuous, legato, smooth, and has more, quote, forward motion. When singing a cappella, there is no accompaniment to fill the time between phrases. So, to create a better wall of sound, we must extend the last word in each phrase, minimizing the silence between phrases. So for this example, I used I See Trees of Green, the song made famous by Louis Armstrong. And so what I've basically done is the last word in each phrase. I see trees of green, red roses too. I see them bloom for me and you. So those two words are going to be short, then medium, then long. And you'll see that it'll create a gap between the phrases. So this is short phrase endings.
I see trees of green, red roses too. I see them bloom for me and you.
And number 2, medium phrase endings.
I see trees of green, red roses too. I see them bloom for me and you.
And finally, long phrase endings.
I see trees of green, red roses too. I see them bloom for me and you.
So what does it feel like when those phrase endings are actually just very short and sort of end abruptly? Jarring. Yeah, Lynn says jarring. Indeed.
It just loses all of the beauty of the song when it's sort of foreshortened like that. Yeah, just really unsatisfying.
Yeah, well put. It sort of takes you out of the nice, beautiful chords, doesn't it? And it's a bit abrupt. Like, ugh, what happened? Why did it stop?
And I think the singers don't sort of, when you have that happen, they lose track of where one is, and so they end up speeding the song up, and before you know it, you're really fast because they didn't hold the whole length of the bar. So it's an unintended consequence.
I'm glad you said that. And in fact, when I was making these examples, I thought it might be interesting to actually like just close up those gaps between the phrases, because that's what singers do. They're like, oh, I see trees of green, red roses too. I see them bloom. They just breathe and start the phrase again without sort of feeling like where the beat should be, like feeling the tempo underneath. Yeah, so that's why sometimes I make my clients sing with a metronome. And then they have to wait for the metronome to go tick, and then they come back in again. Kat, you want to say something?
No, only that I feel like there's probably like a space for choir director therapy in some of that. But I agree, like when you don't if you're not used to what the director pattern means, in the sense that you haven't, like, you don't know your music enough to know this goes for the whole bar and I need to count, then yeah, it creates the sync problem because you're stopping and starting, not really knowing where you were sort of meant to come in.
Yeah. It is an unintended consequence there. I see it happening, especially like a cappella, because there's no like band or drum kit or something sort of keeping time and filling in the gaps. I had in a different presentation I made a while ago. I showed 2 examples of the same song to illustrate the importance of wall of sound, and one is it's Georgia on My Mind. So I play the Ray Charles version. And he sings his phrases very short. It's like, Georgia, Georgia. There's big gaps in the way he sings it. But that's because he's got a great, like, there's a nice sort of light drum kit and the strings, and I think there may be piano and bass. There's like this really nice arrangement that's sort of carrying and filling up the space. And then I played a different version, which is the quartet forefront singing it. And they're singing really great wall of sound, really extending phrases, and even more than that, their arrangement has all of these like embellishments, like bass pickups and echoes and things like that. Things that's pretty unique to a cappella, that because we don't have a band or instrumentalists accompanying a singer, we've got to fill that space with stuff. So we fill it with pickups and echoes and slides and all kinds of stuff. Okay. It is quiz time. Woo! I love doing this bit. So, now you know about the different choral fundamentals. Let's see if you can spot them in the wild. You will hear several audio examples of Down in the River to Pray. One of the choral fundamentals will be affected, but which one? So, question 1. Listen to the example. Which choral fundamental has been affected? Tuning, synchronization, or pitch transition? Maybe we could use the chat for this one. So you could type in what you think has been affected. Tuning, sync, or pitch transition. So I'm going to play you the control example first. So a version that has none of these things warped. And then I'll play you the quiz question. So here's the control example.
As I went down in the river to pray, studying about that good old way, and who shall wear the robe and crown, good Lord, show me the way.
Now here's the quiz question. So identify what has been affected. Tuning or sync or pitch transition.
As I went down in the river to pray, studying about that good old way, and who shall wear the robe and crown, good Lord, show me the way.
So A, tuning, B, synchronization, or C, pitch transition. Looks like everybody can see everybody else's answers, but I think everyone was going to get it right anyway, so well done. It is in fact C. So the pitch transition or the sliding, scooping is what was been affected. Wobbly addition, yeah. Some people pay extra for that. So yes, that was pitch transition being affected. Let's go on to quiz question number 2. So in this example, same song. One of these three has been affected: balance, sync, and vowel matching. So I'll play the control example one more time.
As I went down in the river to pray, studying about that good old way, and who shall wear the robe and crown, good Lord, show me the way.
That was the control, and now here's the quiz question. So identify whether it's been affected in terms of balance, synchronization, or vowel matching.
As I went down in the river to pray, studying about that good old way, and who shall wear the robe and crown, good Lord, show me the way.
Looks like most of us agree. All of us agree, in fact. Yeah, everybody says B, synchronization. That is correct. Okay, you guys are good. I'm going to have to try harder to fool you. Let's do question 3. So this time, it's the same song, but it's actually the chorus of the song instead of the verse, I think, this time. I'll play you the control, but you're going to be listening for synchronization or vibrato or pitch transition. This is the control.
Oh, brothers, let's go down, come on down. Come on, brothers, let's go down, down in the river to pray.
Okay, that was the control. Now here's the question. Try to identify if the sync or the vibrato or the pitch transition has been changed.
Oh, brothers, let's go down, come on down. Come on, brothers, let's go down, down in the river to pray.
Very good. I agree. It is great fun. I think everybody was correct. The answer is B, vibrato. But here's an extra question for you. I'll play it again if you want to hear it again. Which of the parts was using vibrato? Would you like to hear it again? And yeah, okay. You'd be listening, because as a choir director, you have to know this. You can't just be like, y'all were singing with vibrato. Stop it. You can't just be doing that, slinging accusations around willy-nilly. Here is number 3 again. Identify which of the parts is using vibrato.
Oh, brothers, let's go down. Let's go down. Come on down. Come on, brothers, let's go down. Down in the river to pray.
Okay, who wants to take a punt? So, John says tenor, Lynn says tenor, Paul says soprano, Mitch says bass, question mark. Rowena says alto, one of the middle two. Not bass or sop. Colby, well done. Yes, you are correct. It was not the bass or the soprano. Bottom 3, says Ben. Soprano, says Dave. So the answer is the middle two. So the alto and the tenor were using vibrato, and the soprano and bass were singing with straight tone. Yes, so it's tricky, isn't it? You've got to be a bit of a detective sometimes, and you have to have very keen ears to be able to identify this stuff. And that's only with vibrato. Vibrato was the only thing that was changed. Usually there's a few more things. Okay, question number 4. This is the final question. It's the same part of the song. So this time, connecting words, or synchronization, or vowel duration. Let's listen to the control first.
Oh, brothers, let's go down. Let's go down. Come on down. Come on, brothers, let's go down. Down in the river to pray.
Here's the quiz question. So, is it connecting words, synchronization, or vowel duration?
Oh, brothers, let's go down. Let's go down. Come on down. Come on, brothers, let's go down. Down in the river to pray.
Okay, interesting. This one's got more variants. So a few people are saying A. Dave says C. Rowena says D. Paul says A. Frank says C. A and D. Is D all of the above? Could be C. Would you like to hear it one more time? I feel like I should remind you what connecting words means and vowel duration means. So let me show you what connecting words is one more time. Your definition may be different to mine. So this is poor connecting of words.
Sunset and evening star.
Okay. And then vowel duration, where's that? Is this one.
Sunset and evening star.
So in vowel duration, there's like long consonants and short vowels. So now let's listen to this one more time.
Oh, brothers, let's go down. Let's go down. Come on down. Come on, brothers, let's go down. Down in the river to pray.
Yeah, I think a few people have changed revised their results now. Yeah. So it is in fact C, vowel duration. And I was having a slight dig at my choir, Strange Weather, when I made this example, because we do sing this song, and one of the traps we fall into is people go, let's go down. It seems to be just one of those words that we want to sing it the way we speak it. Okay, that is the end of the quiz. You two guys did really well. The quiz is fun, isn't it? It's good to test yourself and try to identify these things. I think that Kat says it sounds like a sync and a connecting words thing as well. Yeah, I agree. There's a little bit of bleed between the different concepts. All right, I just got a couple more things at the end. So this is just my reminder to you all to go and sing well in your choirs. And also, I'm going to just briefly tell you guys about this stuff. Who left that there? This, in case you didn't know, I've got a website where all my stuff is. That I have a podcast where I talk to choir leaders, and I also make learning tracks and arrangements. And also, I have a YouTube channel, and all of my arrangements and stuff go up there with pretty videos where you can watch the arrangements and look at the sheet music as you go. So, stop share. Am I stop sharing? Here we go. And we're back. Thank you very much, everybody, for tuning in and participating in the discussions and asking clever questions and indulging me in this weird thing that I sunk many hours into. I find this kind of stuff really interesting because I'm really interested in everything that makes choral music and barbershop music sound the way it sounds. And being able to tease these things apart with this magical program and go, but what does it really sound like if 3 of the parts were 50-cent flat? Or what does it really sound like if everybody's out of sync but only by like a 30-second note? It is fun to just sort of play these little experiments. And I think in the future I'll make some more quiz questions because I think they're fun. You know, it would be hard though if in the quiz questions there's two fundamentals, 2 concepts that are adjusted, and you have to identify which 2. Because as soon as there's more than one, it gets pretty blurry. It can get pretty difficult to understand or difficult to pinpoint what the issue is. Any questions before we go? I've got a couple of minutes. If anyone wants to just go, that's fine. Thank you for coming along.
I just wanted to say thanks very much, Dan and Kat, for taking the time. It was really good. I've heard a lot of the presentation before, but I've enjoyed reliving it. So thanks for that.
Thank you, Frank. Yeah, I remember you've given me some good feedback about this presentation when we did it live. So thank you very much.
And thank you so much for extending the invitation to us in New Zealand. It was just really awesome. Thank you very much. It was a lot of fun. And
Super appreciate it.
Yeah.
Best way to spend an evening.
I think so too.
Thank you very much.
You guys are my kind of nerds.
Well, you said to be interactive, and I'm like, this is my thing. Yes, let's have some fun. Thank you very much. That was awesome.
Also, Lynn, I love your earrings.
Yeah.
It was really good to have some people from outside the country, our country, to join us. And Mark tuning in from the UK. Thank you, Mark, for tuning in. I think I had a couple of other UK people who were interested, but said the time zone was too different for them. But I promised them I would send them a recording. So if you want the recording, let me know. Send me a message and I'll do that. Also, I'm really interested in adding to this presentation, updating it. If you think I've missed like a pretty important fundamental concept and you think, what would it sound like if we could control this? You should let me know because I'd be interested to incorporate it. Yes, John?
Yeah, I was just thinking about the vowel matching. I know a musical director who does voicing, where and I assume that's based on the observation that some people sing the same way, and placing them in different places within the same part can actually change the outcome quite considerably. I'm wondering whether that's a part of vowel matching, or is that another category of?
I would say it's related. I think I know what you're talking about, where by putting the singers in different positions within the choir, you can get a better sound.
Yeah, a very different sound sometimes, yes.
Yeah, there's a really wonderful video online called The Science of Riser Placement, in which Rob Mance and Steve Scott do that exercise with a choir, and the outcome's really cool. Yeah, in terms of, is it related to vowel matching? I think it kind of is. It's sort of related to the singer's physiology most of all. I've heard Steve Scott say that he listens for vocal fold thickness and vocal fold closure. So some people just sort of have naturally thicker vocal folds and sort of a bigger voice. Brassier, sometimes people would use that term. And some people just sing with greater vocal fold closures, and some people sing with lesser vocal fold closures. That's like a richer or a more connected sound versus a breathier sound. Or you could think about like more like a trumpet or more like a flute, if you want to draw a comparison to like instruments. But yeah, you can get some really great results, and I think the general principle is it's good to find like voices and put them together, and your brassier singers, at least when I've seen it done, you put your brassier singers towards the back and towards the middle of the choir, and your flutier or woodwindier singers around the edges, so like the front and the sides. So you've sort of got like a brass core, and then it sort of filters out to the fluty voices around the edges. Yeah, I don't know if I could do that in Synthesizer V. You could do it, but there's a good video, at least one good video of that online on YouTube. So I'll check that out. The Science of Riser Placement. Any other questions, queries, ideas, confessions?
It would be good in Synth V if we could all be really, really rich and have a whole lot of different voices to make our things, like that would be interesting, like I've got two that I play with all the time. But
yeah.
I always think, imagine if I had exactly what you're saying, I could create some tracks that have got multiple vocal timbres in it instead of me just using the same two all the time. But I guess, two is better than one, which is better than none.
Yeah, having more options is better, isn't it?
Yeah.
I found 4 that I quite like, and I sort of stuck with them for a while. What I'd love to is be able to record my own voice and turn that into a synth voice. That'd be fun.
I would not want to do that with mine, but yes, I understand what you mean.
yeah.
There are voices I would love to record and have in there.
Yeah, and make a bank. Yeah, it's a pretty cool program. I think I saw Mark said would love to chat about Synth V. I'm very happy to do that. I've figured out a few tricks, and I've written a bunch of scripts to make it run a bit better and do what I want it to do. So happy to share that knowledge sometime. Just send me a message and we'll figure out when to
Dan,
do
I did
that.
want to ask, so a lot of your settings, did you manually do those, or did you find that there were some things that automatically did the things that you wanted?
The settings. Well, I'm not sure I understand the question. So like.
So like I know that you can like drag individual words for individual voices. So did you have to do that for every file, or was there like some filter or code you could run over it to actually make all of the consonants short? Or
I see. Right.
Or did you manually adjust it all?
What I do these days is I will often manually adjust one of the parts and then duplicate it, like duplicate it as a new track. And then just drag the pitches.
Right.
So, because I find it's faster to just drag the pitches to a new position than it is to go and redo all the timings and the things like that. So yeah, I mostly try to like get one part exactly how I want it and then duplicate it into 4 other parts.
Cool.
Yeah, I've got a bit of a workflow, and again, I'm happy to expound on this at length.
Let's do another 2 hours on Synth 5.
Yeah. I'm still using Synth V1 and like, just because like I'm used to it, and like I'm finally getting it doing what I want, and I don't want to upgrade to a different thing now. So I know the controls have changed significantly. So
yeah, the voice that I liked the most, that I wanted to hear the most, was an Asian voice, and it's really interesting again because you have to change all of the pronunciation you know, for English as well, and that's quite an art in itself.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I haven't explored the Asian voices, but yeah.
Mai was the one I originally got in version 1, and I really like her voice, but yeah, she pronounces things different. Mm.
Yep. I remember that one. Yep. Dave's question: could you take audio extracts from Synth V and then filter and EQ them differently? You could, yes, and then you could get different kind of like timbres on them. I did that one time just because we would, with our quartet, we were thinking about using like a spectrogram to sort of help us match our resonance more. And I thought, oh, what if I just took the learning track and put it through, like EQ it differently, so it's boosting the harmonics I want. That's another fun thing. That's probably another level again. Yeah, another level of insanity. So Rowena used Natalie and Liam. Yeah, I don't have Liam, but I use Kevin for my like tenor voice, and Asterion for the bass. Natalie's good. I also like Solaria as a soprano. She's like a powerful soprano voice.
Lynn's like, I know her intimately, you know.
She's my friend.
It's
Great.
a shame we have to work and we can't just play on our computers all day, every day.
Yeah. Well, it sort of is work for me.
Yeah.
I make a lot of learning tracks for the choirs. So.
Yeah.
Well, we should probably wrap up. I know it's even later in New Zealand, right? So feel free to get in touch. If you want the recording, just send me a message on Facebook, or you can use my website to contact me like that. But I'll put the recording up on YouTube in probably tomorrow. So if you want to run it back, you can. And if you enjoyed it, great. I'll probably run it again some point in the future and with updates. And yeah, if you think of anything that I should really include, please let me know. But thank you, everybody, for coming out on a Wednesday night in the holidays, or on a school night, whatever it is for you. All right. Good night, everybody.
Good night.